Hello, good morning, and welcome again to our Family Life program. I'm super excited to have you join us in our program for today. And I hope this program has been a blessing to you and to your home. And of course, that's our goal to see marriages thrive and become more successful. Today, we have another very interesting and impactful topic, and that is silent killers in marriage. Silent killers of marriage. What kills marriages? What are those silent killers that we find in marriages today? At the beginning of every relationship or marriage, there's this excitement, there's this spark, there's this fire, and the love is always 100%. The love is always 100%. And of course, there's no couple you see dancing or dancing on the wedding day that you don't see smiles on their faces. There's nobody you see frowning on their wedding day. It's a rare sight. You really can hardly find people frowning on their day, on their big day. There's always excitement. But then gradually that love begins to depreciate. The love begins to depreciate and eventually dies off. And these are due to silent killers. Marriage can be likened to a garden, that needs to be taken care of. Marriage needs care. It needs maintenance. It needs to be taken care of. Otherwise, it will just go bad. It will go bad. A garden that is not well taken care of will begin to grow weeds, unwanted crops. So you need to take care of your marriage garden. Songs of Solomon 2:15 gives us this beautiful description. He said, take out the little foxes that spoils the vine. That's Songs of Solomon speaking. Take out the little foxes that spoils the vine. For my vine has tender grapes. Take out the little foxes. They are not big things that destroy homes. They are little, little things. And if you don't pay attention to, will destroy your home. Take out the little foxes that spoils the vine. The part that interests me the most, he said the vine has tender grapes. I want you to take note of the word tender. The word tender means delicate. Marriage is delicate. Marriage is tender. It needs to be handled with care. Marriage needs to be handled with care. Otherwise, it will go bad. Little foxes. So this morning we want to look at some foxes, some little foxes that spoils our marriage vine. And the first little foxes that spoils the marriage vine is selfishness. Selfishness. That's the first little foxes that spoil our marriage vine. Selfishness. What is selfishness? It means being or devoted to or caring only for oneself. Being devoted to or caring only for oneself. It means being concerned primarily with one's own interest. Your concern is about your own interest, your own benefits, your own welfare, regardless of others. All you are interested in is how will this marriage favor me? That's all that concerns you. How will this marriage favor me? What do I stand to gain in this marriage? That's what concerns you. And that's selfishness. It means putting yourself first before another person. And as humans, it is very normal. It is very normal. We have the tendency. There's every tendency to always consider yourself first before another person. That's why we're mad. So it takes the grace of God to deal with this flesh. The flesh by nature is selfish. The flesh by nature is selfish. So there's every tendency to always put yourself first. There's every tendency to always consider your benefit, how things will benefit you first before another person. That's why it's flesh. But in marriage, you need to train yourself. In marriage, you need to train yourself to learn to consider another person. That's why marriage is a school. Marriage is a school. Nobody graduates from this special school. It is till death do you part. You don't graduate. It's a school that they give you the certificate from the day one. They hand over a certificate to you from the beginning, the very beginning. It's a school. And you need to train yourself. It's a conscious training. You need to train yourself to always consider someone else before yourself. To always put someone first in your planning, in your decision making, in your everyday to day activity. You have to learn to consider someone before you. Your day to day activities like food. Like food, you as a wife, if you are married to a spouse that is highly selective, if you are not, if you don't deal with selfishness, then there will be a problem. For example, I'm married to my husband. For example, he's a very selective person. He has so much likes and dislikes about food. He's highly selective. For example, I can wake up one morning and prepare beans and plantain, for example, for breakfast. And he comes back and like, is it beans and plantain? No, 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 no. I'm not in the mood for beans and plantain. And he has one particular language. You're like, this is not in my agenda. You go through stress preparing something, beans and plantain. And he comes back and tell you, you know what? This is not in my agenda. What is in your agenda? And you want to ask him, okay, what is it in your agenda? And he tells you, jollof rice and fried plantain. Wow. And in the real sense of it, that is not visible. It is not visible at that moment. Hey, you want to pet him and like, please, I can't do that now. It's really not possible to have jollof rice and fried plantain now. Please manage these beans. And him being a kind person, we want to manage that beans. But you see how he eats the beans like as if he's been punished. He's eating the beans reluctantly, like he's been punished or forced to eat that food. And you as a spouse, you are not happy. And you want to go out of your way to prepare something they love. And each time you do that, or each time I do that, to prepare something he actually wants, you see the excitement, you see how he enjoys that food. And personally, it brings joy to me. It brings joy to me when I see my husband eating and enjoying the food, not eating like he's been punished. It brings joy to me. And that's where sacrifice comes in. That's where sacrifice comes in, preparing what somebody wants. It's really not easy. For you as a person, you can decide to take tea and bread or decide to take noodles, which is faster, which is quicker, which is faster and much easier. But you want to consider. You want to consider your spouse. You want to consider your partner. You want them to be happy. And that's what marriage is all about. Considering another person. Looking out for the welfare of another person, looking out for the joy in your spouse, looking out for the well-being, the happiness, the excitement in your spouse. It takes sacrifice to do that. It takes sacrifice. Like I will always say, marriage is 100% sacrifice. I will always say this. Marriage is not a 50-50 thing. It's 100% sacrifice. As a woman, you are coming into the life of your husband as a helper. You are coming in as a helper. And as a helper, it will take some things from you. As a helper, it will take certain things from you. Marriage is about serving another person. It's about coming in to serve another person. So it is not about flaunting the wedding ring on the wedding day. No. Marriage is good. Flaunting the wedding ring is good. And taking all, having all the dance step is good. But what's most important is that you are coming in to serve another person. You are coming in to render service, to discharge responsibilities. To discharge responsibility. That's what marriage is all about. And that requires some level of sacrifice. It's not a walk in the park. It requires some level of sacrifice. letting some things go in order to make someone happy, considering another person, going out of your comfort zone, going out of your comfort zone to please another person, to make your spouse happy. In marriage, things will not always go your way. It will not always go your way all the time. It's not going to be about you all the time. It's not going to be about one person all the time. But two people coming together. Two people coming together to becoming one. And so in marriage, the word I needs to give way. The word I, or my house, my car, my digs, my land, my digs has to give way to the word O-U-R. I has to give way to our house, our land, our car, our everything should be ours. Should be ours, not mine. Even God, our Heavenly Father, does not function that way. He doesn't function with I. At the beginning of creation, he said, let us. Take note of the word us. Let us make man in our own image. Let us. He had all the power to just make man. And he said no. He looked out for the interest and the opinions of others. He looked out for the opinions of others. He did not just say that I'm God, I'm the Almighty, and so I'll do whatever I want to do. No. He said, let us make man in our own image. That's beautiful. And also Isaiah 1:18, God also said, come, let us reason together. Let us reason. Let us take note of the word us. It wasn't always about him. He said, let us reason together. That's considering other people's opinion. In the worldly marriage, you can find the word I, where people are not certain. If you are married to a spouse who is not godly, if you are married to someone who is not a child of God, you can expect the word I all the time. You can expect the word I all the time. When you say people looking up at their own interests, like you never can tell. Anything can happen. Let me take care of myself. And you see a woman who will build a house without the husband's knowledge. And they tell you to prepare for the rainy days. Anything can happen. Divorce may happen. Anything can happen. In a godly setting, there should be no plan B. It is our house, our car. Everything should be ours. In a godly setting, where God is in the center of your home, that should not be the picture of the day. My house, my car, my this, my that. No, it should be ours. And that's where God is present in your home. If as a person, you keep looking out for only your benefits in marriage, then you are a selfish person. If all you want is what will profit you, what will benefit you, then you are a selfish person. If you always want to be at the receiving end, you want to always collect, give me, without reciprocating, you're a selfish person. You are a selfish person. All you want is you want all the love, you want all the affection, all the attention, you want all the care, you want all the gifts. They should buy you this, they should buy you this, they should buy you that. But you don't want to reciprocate. You have nothing to give in return. Then you are a selfish person. Marriage is always give and take. You give love and you also receive love. It shouldn't be about you all the time. Philippians 2:3-4 also paints this beautiful picture. He said, let each person look out for the welfare of others. Look out for the welfare of others. And that's what Jesus did when he was here on earth. That's what Jesus did. He was humble. He was always looking out for the welfare of people. Jesus was always filled with compassion for people. It wasn't about himself all the time. He was so humble to the call to serve his disciples, to the point of washing their feet, to the point of washing the disciples' feet. It takes humility. It takes love, sacrificial kind of love, to put someone before yourself. It takes love. If you also see the description of when Jesus went out and the people were hungry, they were there for days, listening to the word of God. It wasn't about, okay, this time everybody go. No. He said, is there anybody with food? Is there anybody with food? He wasn't thinking about himself alone. He wasn't thinking about his own stomach first. And thank God there was a lad, a little boy, that had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. And he multiplied them and made people eat. And made people comfortable first before themselves. And that's where love comes in. Practical love. As a husband, you are not only looking out for yourself, being pampered, for yourself being served. Take out time or make out time to look out for your wife. Look at her very well. Look at her face. Is she smiling today? Is she happy today? Go out of your way to make her happy. That's why you are the head of that home. The second killer, silent killer of marriage is comparison. That's the second killer, very silent killer. Why I use the word silent? It doesn't appear with a gun, it doesn't appear with a knife or cutlass. No. It creeps in gradually. And before you know, it begins to weaken the bond between both of you. It comes in gradually and begins to weaken the bond between both of you, the bond that holds both of you together. Comparison, comparing your spouse with other people, that's a silent killer. That's a silent killer where you are comparing your spouse with another person. As a man, you keep comparing your spouse with all your exes. If you have 10, 10 ex, if you have just one, you keep comparing your spouse with your ex. You keep comparing your spouse with your ex. And I will always ask, why did you not marry that ex? That's the question I will always ask. Why did you leave that ex for your wife? I'm sure you saw something that made you leave that ex. And I'm sure you also saw something that attracted you to your wife. There must be something. You cannot see a total stranger and take that person to the altar. It's not possible. There was something that attracted you to your wife. There was something that attracted you to her. Why is it in marriage you start comparing her with your ex? That's so bad. That's so bad. You compare her with your sisters. You compare her with your female friends, your female colleagues. You compare her with even her siblings. That's so demeaning. That's so bad. You compare the way she dresses. You compare the way she cooks. You compare her body shape. That's so humiliating. You tell her to her face. See the way you look like chimpanzee. See the way you look like a gorilla. That's so humiliating. That's so demeaning. You never can tell what that does to her. You never can tell what that does to your wife. You never can tell the damage that has on your wife. I'm telling you. Comparing how she cooks. You eat her food and you say this is nonsense. This is potty. Pardon that grammar. This is concussion. You want to always embarrass her. You want to disgrace her anywhere. Talk down on her. To her face. And you even tell her, if I had known, I would have married Chichi. If I had known, I would have married Beauty. If I had known, I would have married any of the names. You know their names. You tell her to her face, if I had known. It completely kills that woman. It completely kills that woman. You just damage everything in your wife. I'm telling you. You demoralize her completely. Say, look at your my mother can cook better than you. Your younger sister can cook better than you. That's humiliating. You even want to compare her sex life. That's the height of it. That's the height of it. You want to compare her sex life with that of your ex. That's so humiliating. If you as a man, you have like 10 exes and you slept with all of them. That means you are married to a virgin. You as a man, you have 10 exes and you slept with all of them. That means you have a PhD when it comes to sex. And if you are married to a virgin, that virgin is like a primary school holder or a complete novice or in kindergarten when it comes to the matter of sex. She knows nothing. So you cannot begin to compare all your experiences with that of your wife. No. Begin to compare her, see how you are, see how you are on the bed, see how you are this, see how you are that. You will just finish that woman. You don't have an idea of how it makes her feel emotionally, mentally, psychologically. You are gradually killing your wife and you are killing your marriage. You are killing your marriage without knowing. You are damaging her self-esteem. You are damaging her self-worth. You are damaging her confidence. You are damaging her confidence. You are damaging her completely. A woman came to us and was telling us about her husband, was complaining bitterly. Her husband would prefer to eat the food prepared by her own younger sister. And I was listening like, can it be possible? You even say it to her face. You even invite her younger sister to come and cook. You even invite her younger sister. Say, come home and cook. Don't mind, it's your sister. She doesn't know how to cook. That's so bad. That's really bad. If you want her to learn certain things, there should be a better way to present it. There should be a better way to present certain things in order not to make her feel bad. You do it in love. You do it in humility. You do it in patience. Do it in patience. If you know your wife does not know how to cook, you have to be involved. You can register her in a catering school. You can register her in a catering school for her to step up her cooking skill or cooking experience. You can take her to your mom and say, Mommy, that particular soup, I want you to teach my wife in love. In love. If it is in terms of dressing, you that know how to dress properly, buy her certain things. You have to be involved. Marriage takes two people who are willing. Two people who are willing and ready to make sacrifices for each other. If you as the husband, you know how to dress properly, then teach her. You have to be intentional, making her learn certain things. Go out of your way, buy her certain things. Buy her the things you like. The things you admire on your colleague. Get it, bring it home. She will appreciate it. Teach her how to combine colors if that's the problem. Teach her how to make her hair. Instead of condemning her, instead of criticizing her. And if she sees it through the lens of love, she will appreciate it. She will appreciate it. But if she sees it through the eyes of criticism, then she wants to put up a defense. She wants to become stubborn. So I want to beg you as husbands, treat your wife with knowledge or knowledge and patience. Handle her with knowledge and patience. And you as a wife, you keep comparing your husband with your ex also. Comparing him rather with your exes. That's another very demeaning way of handling a spouse. Comparing your husband with your ex. If you are married to a man who is not romantic at all, and you want to compare him with the romantic ex you had previously, and you tell him to his face, my ex will open car doors, my ex will pull out chairs, my ex will do this, will do that, will buy me flowers, my ex will take me out for a date or for a dinner. Then you know nothing. You want to tell him to his face. He will not learn by force. Of course he won't. He won't learn by force. He won't learn by you insulting him. He won't learn that way. Every man has an ego. Every man has an ego. And so there's a way you tell him things, he will do the opposite. He will do the opposite. So there's a way you treat a man. It's a way you handle a man if you want him to change his ways. You compare him to your father. You compare him to your brothers. You compare him to your friends. You compare him to your friends. And I always want to ask, why did you not marry your friend? You saw all your friends. You saw Paul. You saw Peter. You saw Timothy. You saw all of them. And you did not marry them. For you to agree to marry your husband, then you must be ready to make it work. For you to agree to accept that man, then you must be ready. You must be willing to make your marriage work. By comparing your husband with other people, you are killing him emotionally. You are killing the self-esteem of that man. You are making him feel less of a man. And that's really bad. That's really, really bad. Instead of comparing yourself with other people as a man and as a woman, rather than comparing yourself with Nkechi, comparing yourself with Josephine, comparing yourself with your friends and with people, it is better you appreciate yourselves. It is best you appreciate yourselves. It is best you celebrate yourselves. It is best you appreciate, you encourage yourselves. That's the best thing to do. Encourage yourself, celebrate yourself, appreciate each other. Honey, you are trying. It's not easy to take care of a home. You are trying, but I'll love you do this. But I'll love you do this. So you start by appreciating your spouse. You start from the angle of appreciation. I appreciate all you do in this home. I appreciate all your effort. But I would have loved you to do more in this area. I would have loved you to do more in the other area. That's how you go about it. I would love you to do more in this area. 2 Corinthians 10 verse 12. He said, those people who compare themselves with other people are not wise. If you keep comparing your spouse with another person, you are not wise. And it takes wisdom to build a home. Proverbs 14:1, it says, a wise woman builds a home. A wise woman builds a home. But only a foolish woman, and also a foolish man, will bring down that home by comparison. You look at Mama Nkechi gives, you want to compare the financial status of your husband with another person. And Mama Nkechi will come to you and say, do you know what? My husband gives me 500,000 as feeding money. Did you verify that 500,000? That's my question for you. Did you see that 500,000 with your eyes? That's my question for you. Did you see it? And even if you did, even if you saw that 500,000 naira, and your husband cannot afford that 500,000 at that time, I always say life is in phases. And men are in sizes per time. As long as that man is hard working. You see that man working hard, appreciate him. Appreciate that man, and that's where contentment comes in. That's where contentment comes in. 1 Timothy 6, verse 6 to 10. He said, godliness and contentment is great gain. He said, for we brought nothing into this world, and of a certain we will take nothing away. He said, having food and raiment. That means if your husband can provide food on the table, appreciate that man. If he can bring in something and put something on the table, whether it is what you want at that time, appreciate that man. Having food and raiment. Be content. Be grateful. Be grateful. And what God hates most, what God hates the most is murmuring and complaining. I'm telling you. That's what God hates, this murmuring and complaining. Jesus saw 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. It was nothing in comparison to the crowd, in comparison to the multitude. But he did not begin to complain or begin to murmur and say, what is this? He did not say, what is this? Rather, he gave thanks to God, and the 5 loaves of bread multiplied. It multiplied. Thanksgiving has a way to trigger God to step into your case. I'm telling you. Thanksgiving. I'm not telling you something I've not done. I'm telling you something I have practiced. And I'm still practicing. It has a way of attracting divine presence. Psalm 22 verse 3 says God inhabits the praises of his people. So when you praise God, you are attracting to step into your home. And if God steps into your home, he will definitely change the present unpleasant, that is the present ugly situation. He will do it. If God steps into your home and he sees you drinking gari, and you are grateful, you are thankful for the gari and granite, because there are some out there who are praying for that same gari and granite. I'm telling you. There are people praying for the gari and granite that you despise. There are people praying to see that gari and granite. But if you despise the days of little beginning, then you will invite the destroyer. 1 Corinthians 10:10, it said, neither murmur he, as some of them murmured and were destroyed by the destroyer. So each time you complain as a woman, each time you murmur, you only destroy the little thing that was coming in. I'm telling you, you destroy the little things that were coming in. Contentment is a virtue. You need to possess it. Contentment is a virtue. And I want you to know that the grass is not always greener on the other side. You have to know this. The grass is not always greener. It's not always one you see that is all well dressed. You don't know what is happening in their home. They are not telling you what's happening. They are not telling you what is happening. I'm telling you. You need to be patient and work on your marriage. Be patient and work on your marriage. And even if the grass is green on the other side, anywhere you find a green grass, know that somebody is watering that grass. Know that somebody is taking care of that grass. That is why it is green. I'm telling you, somebody is taking care of that grass. That is why it is green. So you have to work on your marriage. Nobody stumbles upon success in marriage overnight. No success in marriage happens overnight. Nowhere. You can't find it anywhere. Any successful people you see in marriage, go and ask them. They have their own stories. Go and find out. They have their own stories. They will tell you there were days when they had to trek for miles without car. Anybody you see in Jeep, in different Prado, XUV, go and ask them. They will tell you there were days they had no car. There were days they had to enter bike. There were days they had to enter keke. Tricycle. If you don't understand the word keke, that's tricycle. There were days they had to enter keke. There were days they had to eat food 101. Nothing in the morning, lunch in the afternoon, nothing for dinner. Go and ask questions. Before you begin to curse that man, before you begin to insult that man, foolish man, stupid man. When men are talking, will you be talking? Your mates are this, your mates are that. In marriage, there's no mate. There's no mate in marriage. Everybody's marriage is unique. Everybody's marriage is peculiar to them alone. So you have to be patient and work on your marriage. Possess the virtue of contentment. Ability to be happy with where you are now, on your way to where God is taking you to. Be happy. Celebrate God. Give him your best dance. Even if you have to package yourself, do it. Do it. Let nobody know that you drank Gary this morning. Let nobody know that you have nothing to eat for lunch. Let nobody know that it's nothing in your husband's account. Don't sell that man out. Package yourself. Celebrate God and trust Him. He will change your story before you know what is happening. The next silent killer of marriage is intolerance. That's another silent killer of marriage. Intolerance. What is tolerance? The capacity to tolerate or endure other people's opinion or behavior. That's tolerance. To endure. To tolerate. To endure other people's opinion, other people's practices, or their way of life. The ability to accommodate. The ability to accommodate people and their behavior. And this is so important because this is, you can say I'm smiling. This is so important. Tolerance in marriage is so important. If you're a woman, even if you're as a man, whether you're a man or a woman, you need to possess this virtue of tolerance. Because you are not married to a saint. I want you to know that you are not married to a saint. You are not married to an angel. No matter how beautiful your wife is, she's not an angel. She will mess up. She will misbehave. She will offend you. Your spouse will offend you. I'm not telling you they will or they may. I am telling you they will offend you. They will do things you don't like. They will upset you at times. And it may not be intentional. They may not even be aware. They may not even be aware. There will be times you will even ask yourself, what did I see in this man? I'm telling you. There will be times you will even ask yourself, you will sit down and ask yourself, what did I see in this man? What did I really see in this woman? Because of their character, because of their behavior. You know, in courtship, people act drama. People are so conscious of themselves and of their behavior. They tend to behave themselves in courtship. And in marriage, you will see the real person you got married to. That's the reality stage. You will see them for who they are. At that stage in marriage, there's no pretense anywhere. There's no hypocrisy. You are seeing the person for who they really are. And at times your spouse can be a disorganized person. Your spouse can be a disorganized person. And this could be as a result of their different personality traits. I always talk about personality traits. I always talk about temperament. We have different temperaments. And this temperament controls the behavior of people. You have basically four. It could be more. You have basically four temperaments or four behavioral traits. And that is the sanguine or the cholerics. These ones, they are very disorganized people. And every temperament trait has 20 strengths and 20 weaknesses. 20 strengths and also 20 weaknesses. One of the weaknesses of the cholerics and the sanguine is that they are disorganized people. They are disorganized. So if you're married to a choleric, you have work to do. You have real work to do. You also have the phlegmatic or the melancholy. These ones are perfect people. They call them perfect melancholy. They are perfect people. They are perfectionists. They want to keep something here and come back and meet that thing right where they kept it. And if you move the things they kept an inch, they will take notice of it. I don't know what temperament you are. You listening to me right now. Are you a phlegmatic? Are you a melancholy? Are you a perfect person who wants things to be done with perfection and precision? If you are that kind of person, you need to possess tolerance. If you're a single listening to me right now and you don't have tolerance, marriage is not for you. I'm telling you. If you're a single, you have not yet entered the journey or embarked on the journey of marriage, you need to possess the virtue of tolerance because you're going to tolerate. There will be things to tolerate. If you have zero tolerance level, then marriage is not for you. If you don't take nonsense, at times you hear people say, I can't take this nonsense. I can't tolerate this rubbish. You will tolerate. In marriage, You have to tolerate. You will tolerate plenty times. In marriage, you will tolerate. It's a school for tolerating each other. You will tolerate. If your husband is a person who will put shoes on the bed, who will put shoes on the sofa, who will walk in, you as a wife, you have labored all day. You cleaned, you swept, you scrubbed, you mopped everywhere. You took out time to tidy the house, to keep the house in order. And your husband comes in and he's not even aware of what you've done. He's not even aware. He just walks in. Walks in from the outside with his shoes filled with sands. Filled with sand, and just walks in straight to the bedroom with sand. And you come in and you're like, what is all this? What is all this? Will I tell you to take off your shoes? How many times will I tell you to do this? You have to learn how to tolerate. So you have to learn how to accommodate people. You have to learn how to accommodate people, because two perfect persons cannot get married. I want you to know that. If you are complaining now, my husband is this, I've been telling him to press the toothpaste from the top or from the bottom, there must be a way out. There must be a way out, because if you keep talking, you will have BP. You will have headache. If you keep talking and your spouse is not changing. And at times you can change people. I want you to know that. There are people to try. I want you to know this and no peace. Yeah. No this and no peace. It is not everything in a person you can change, no matter how hard you try. So know that you can't change certain things. So the things you can change, the things you cannot change, leave them like that and find a way around certain things so that you have peace. Two perfect persons can come together, but two imperfect people that are walking towards perfection. Two imperfect people coming together and walking towards perfection. That's what marriage is all about. The fourth is unforgiveness. That's the fourth silent killer in marriage. I've talked about selfishness. I've talked about comparison. I've talked about intolerance. And now forgiveness. Unforgiving to me, you can say it, or you can, if you're writing, you're jotting, write it out in capital letters, because marriage is a school full of offenses. It's a school full of offenses. Why? Because you are not married to an angel, like I said earlier. So there will be little shortcomings. Your husband is not an angel. He did not drop from the sky. So you must expect little shortcomings in their behavior. You must make room you must make room, like I said earlier, to accommodate people. Make room to accommodate people, because there will be little shortcomings. There will be little mistakes here and there. You are not perfect. Your husband is also not perfect. So you must make room for each other. And your partner may hurt you without even knowing it. They may hurt you. They may say hurtful words without even knowing they have hurt you. And so if you keep piling it up and keep bottling it up, just keep piling them up in your heart, your husband is not even aware. He's not even aware. And he's even wondering, why are you squeezing your face? Why are you frowning? He's even wondering, why are you frowning? What's wrong with you? And you're saying nothing. You are just nodding your head. He's not aware. He's not aware. Why? Because he's not a mind reader. He doesn't know the things you have piled up. And you're just piling them up. But one day you will explode. One day you will explode. So learn to communicate. Learn to communicate. Learn to communicate. Open up. They may hurt you without even knowing it. And also, why are there offenses in marriage? Some people enter marriage or come into marriage with expectations. There are people who come into marriage with certain expectations. Certain expectations, what to benefit from the marriage. My husband will do this. My husband will do that. My wife will do this. My wife will do that. It's a good one. It's a good thing to come in with expectations. It's very good. But at times, When those expectations are not being met, then there's a problem. When those expectations are not being met, then there is a problem. So in marriage, you have to prepare yourself for forgiveness. There will be times also when your anger will be justified. Yeah. There will be times when your anger will be justified. Like you are justified for being angry. Your husband did this. A woman met me last week and was like, my husband insulted me. He keeps insulting me. I'm done. I was asking, madam, please calm down. I said, please take a seat and just calm yourself down. He said, mommy, here I've sat him down. I've cautioned him. We have both sat down to discuss this issue. And he keeps repeating it. I said, calm down. You're not done. You can't be done. And I asked her, how long is the marriage? She said, 10 years. I said, you cannot walk out of a 10 years marriage just like that. There must be a way out. I said, does he beat you? She said, no. Does he abuse you physically? Is there domestic violence in your home? Is there anything like violence or a threat to life? She said, no. I said, then you cannot just walk out. If something is not life-threatening, you can't walk out of a 10 years marriage because he insults you. No. You are not done. I said, ma, you need to learn how to forgive. You need to learn how to forgive even when your anger is justified. Like when you have every reason to be angry, you still have to make room for forgiveness. Make room for forgiveness. Like I will always say, there's no sin. God is not selecting the sin to forgive you. You have to know this. He did not send his son to the world and said, please, you have to die for this or die for that, but don't die for murder. No. He did not say die for telling lies or die for cheating, but don't die for murder case. Any murder case, don't forgive that person. No. He died for us completely. For every sin people will commit, even the ones they've not yet committed, God has paid the price. He has forgiven us in advance. He has forgiven us in advance. So there's no sin that cannot be forgiven. There's no sin in marriage that cannot be forgiven. And if your marriage is life-threatening, your husband will beat you with knife, carry broken bottle, carry cutlass. You can forgive, and you can stay away for a season. You can forgive, and you can stay alive from afar. You can be trying to settle or reconcile things. Be assured of safety. I'll always put that clause. You have to first of all be assured of safety in your marriage. If it's life-threatening, you have to give yourself space. You have to be alive first. And if it is not life-threatening, you have to forgive. If it is not life-threatening, you have to forgive. When that person is truly remorseful, if they are truly remorseful, they are truly repentant, you are seeing it deep within them. You are seeing it, you can see it. And this man is truly remorseful. He wants to repent. Then please, you as a wife, learn to forgive. I'm not making excuses for your partner. No, I'm not. I'm not making excuses for their weaknesses. I'm not. I'm not making excuses for their wrong. I'm not. But we as children of God, we have been commanded. We have been commanded by God to forgive. Matthew 6 verse 12. It said, forgive us our trespasses. That's the Lord's Prayer. Even as we also forgive those who offend us. And that's in Matthew 6 verse 14 to 15. It said, if you do not forgive, neither will your heavenly Father forgive you also. So if you keep holding people, holding offenses in your heart, holding your spouse in your heart, God also will not forgive you. It's a straight line equation. God himself will forgive you. The forgiveness and the mercies of God to stay alive. Because we are sinners per second we keep offending him. Our righteousness is as a filthy rag before God. We are sinners, we keep offending God, we keep making mistakes. If God keeps forgiving us our sins, who are we Who are we? You need to ask God for the grace to forgive your spouse. If you're a man, you must learn forgiveness. If you're a woman, you must learn forgiveness. If not, your marriage will not work. Your marriage will die. It will die. Even if you are together, there's no bond. Unforgiveness will break the bond between you and your spouse. Let's go and let God. Ask God for the grace. I know it's not easy. I'm not talking because it's easy. No, it's not easy. And you need to ask God for the grace to always let people go. Let people go. Forgive. Practice advanced forgiveness. Say, look, my husband, I know you will offend me, but I forgive you in advance. Yeah, I forgive you in advance. The one you do tomorrow, I've forgiven you. The one you will do next week, I have forgiven you. Because I want my heart to be free. I want to be able to accommodate Jesus in my heart. Psalm 66 verse 18 says, if I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. Either 66 or 68. If I regard iniquity, and one of them is unforgiveness, God will not hear me. So what can you do in life without God? I want to ask you a question. I want to ask this question. What can you do in life without God? I'm asking you. What can you do in life without God? Without his help? Without his mercies? Without his backing? Lamentations 3:22, he said, by his mercies we are not consumed. So if God removes his mercies from you, for just 1 second, you are gone. I'm telling you. If God removes his mercies from you, for just a second, you are gone as a person. So please practice forgiveness. You may want to say you don't understand what you are talking about. I understand you perfectly. My husband cheats on me. He's a chronic womanizer. You say you might want to tell me that. You really don't understand the pain this man has brought to me. You really cannot understand the torture. I understand perfectly well. I understand perfectly well. But when Jesus was faced with the same situation, they brought to him a woman who was caught in the very act, trying to or about to act or about to perform the act. She was not about to perform the act. She was caught in the very act of adultery. And by the law of Moses, it is an outright death sentence. They have to stone her to death. That was the law. So there was no negotiation. And when Jesus came in with a mercy gospel, with a grace gospel. It's not during the time of Moses, it was an eye for an eye. You do something, they pay you back on the spot with the same measure. The same measure, pressed down, shaking together, running over, the same measure. And when Jesus came in and they met him, they were trying to tempt him to see what he would do. What did he say? He said, any of you without sin, be the first to cast the first stone. That was wisdom in action. That was wisdom in action. Of you without sin, be the first to cast the first stone. And what was it in that scripture? If you read it down, it said they all left and threw their stones on the ground, beginning from the eldest. Yeah, beginning from the eldest. That means that one has plenty sins. As an elderly man, your sin, your sin is, it has filled up one thick back or hardcover notebook. If they keep counting all your wrongs. If they keep counting your wrongs. So, beginning from the elders, they all left one after the other. That means everybody has sinned and come short of the glory of God. So, marriage needs forgiveness. It needs forgiveness. Mark 11:25 to 26. It says, when you stand praying, forgive. When you stand praying, forgive. When you stand praying. At times there are some scriptures that frightens me, I'm telling you. Personally, there are some scriptures that frightens me. You have to be a child of God to make your marriage work. There's a God factor that helps us to make our marriage work. You need grace. Marriage is not easy. It's not easy. You need the grace of God to make your marriage work. Mark 11:25 to 26. It says, when you stand praying, forgive. Otherwise, forget that prayer. Oh, yes. When you want to pray, and what can you do without God? I want to ask again. What is it you can do without God? John 15:4-5. He said, without me, you can do nothing. You can do nothing without God. I'm telling you. So when you want to ask him for things, you want to ask him for his help. Mark 11:25. He said, when you want to pray and there's someone in your heart, your husband is in your heart. What he did in the year 1960 is still in your heart. The time, the date is still in your heart. Forget that prayer. That's God. Forget that prayer. Forget it. What he did, 1960, 1961, the day, the time, 1962. They are all fresh like it happened yesterday. Forget that prayer. You can't receive healing. You are pained. And I want you to know that unforgiveness is like a trap. It's like a prison that traps somebody. It's like a prison that traps you. It's like a prison. So you have to break out from that prison. It's not easy, but you need the grace of God. And if you are ready and ask God sincerely, he will give you the grace. The next silent killer, or the next little forces that kills marriage, is taking your spouse for granted. I've made this video before, taking your spouse for granted, but I just felt led to include it here among the vices that destroys marriage. Taking your spouse for granted. You are married to a good man. You are married to a man whose conscience is alive. The man helps you with household chores. You see a man, in the morning, he will give you breakfast in bed. He will go into the kitchen, prepare breakfast, prepare the children for school. He will wash your car. He will do everything for you. And gradually, you begin to take that man for granted. Gradually, you begin to act like it is the man's job to do those things. And if they don't do it, you want to frown. You want to react if they don't do those things. If you are married to a good man, there are people who are in hell, though. I'm telling you, there are people, I have heard things. There are things I have heard when people complain. They come for counseling. I hear certain things. I will just be pinching myself, like be tapping myself. Is this happening? Can this be happening? I'm telling you, there are certain things that are left better imagined than experienced. I'm telling you, there are things people are going through that are better imagined. I'm telling you, things better imagined. So if you are privileged to be married to a good woman, don't let them go. Hold them tight. Don't take them for granted. How do you take your spouse for granted? By being ungrateful. You're ungrateful. They do things for you. And instead of opening your mouth to say thank you, you just like you commonize those things. Like, what's this? What's this? He buys you something. He buys you a gift. And what's that? Is the only flower you saw in that market? You did not see gold earring. You did not see gold earring to add. You did not see golden research. You did not see this. You did not see that. You commonize the things that you get for free without you asking. You are losing that man gradually, or you are losing that woman gradually. Your wife goes out of her way to make you happy. Prepares the best food you love, and you come back from work. You see her sweating. She had made your favorite food, probably pounded yam and vegetable soup. And you are eating that food, licking your fingers. And you are done eating that food. Not a single thank you. That's too insensitive. Not a single thank you. Like my wife, this is something else. This meal is wonderful. Thank you. It's not your right. If she doesn't do it, you won't kill her. So if she does it, a simple thank you will make her happy, will make her feel good, will make her want to do more. That's what thank you does to us as humans. Ingratitude, lack of appreciation, lack of respect for your spouse is taking them for granted. Talking to your spouse with disrespect. You are out there with your friends and you want to run her down. That's bad. That's commonizing her. Correcting them in public. Never admitting you are wrong. Never apologizing when you are wrong. You cannot say you are sorry when you are wrong. Because you know the man will forgive you. The man is a good man. The man is a man of God. Where will he go to? He can't go outside. He can't cheat on me. So you want to torture that man. You want to repeat the same offense. They have complained. They have warned you. I don't like the way you talk to me. You want to keep repeating those offenses. That's taking them for granted. You don't regard their opinions. That's taking them for granted. You do things. You take decisions. You do whatever you want to do. Not regarding like you have someone in the house to consider or to put into consideration. That's taking them for granted. I listened to one video. I watched a video and I heard a woman. She was complaining. Or they were interviewing her and she was saying she took her spouse for granted. She took her husband for granted. She was married to a good man who would do house chores. Wash her car. Fill her gas cylinder when they're empty. Fuel her car. Do everything the man was all about. It was just around her. The man was just everywhere around her. And she took that man for granted. She said she went further to further or get more degrees. She got more degrees in school and she became more educated than the man and earned more. Also, if you're a woman and you are earning more than the man, he still deserves respect. Yeah. If you're a woman, you're listening to me right now, and you are earning more than your husband, I want you to know that he is still your head. He is still your head and still the one in charge. So please don't disrespect him because your income is more. That's taking them for granted. And this woman, as we speak, was already divorced. She lost that man. She lost that man because her money entered her head. And she began to act like the boss in the house. She began to act like the leader in the house. And no man wants another boss. No, God has made one head. Anywhere you find two heads, that's a monster setting. She regretted. And like I said before, statistics have shown that 52% of people who are divorced regret their actions after 2 years. I want you to know that. Statistics have shown that 52% of people who are divorced regret their actions after 2 years. So that man you are treating anyhow, somebody is praying for that man. No? You don't know. There's somebody outside only waiting for you to make mistake. The way Vashti made mistake and Esther came in. That man you are calling coconut head, useless man, you are a fool. Somebody is praying for that kind of man. No? That woman that is there, sacrificing, building with you, wanting to make your life good, and you are like useless woman, foolish woman. Somebody is praying for that woman. No? I want you to know. And at times that they're saying that you don't know what you have until you lose it. That saying is so true. It's so real. It's so true. You don't know what you have until it slips off your finger and you begin to regret. The next point, I'll quickly run through the last 2 points, and that's secrecy and lies. Secrecy, lies, hiding things from your spouse, concealing certain information will kill your marriage. Will kill your marriage. And people do this because they don't want their spouse to disrespect them. They don't want to lose their marriage, and they want to hide certain information. They want to hide certain information. I've seen people who has children. They have children before marrying that man or marrying that woman, and they will not disclose that information. And later, the man will find out. That one will completely kill that man. I'm telling you. It will completely kill the man. It's better you tell him before marriage than for him to find out on his own. On his own, that marriage is gone. So if you are single, please don't hide anything. Genesis 2:25, he said they were both naked. Talking about transparency, nothing to hide. I heard a story of a husband and a wife. They were living in a house, in a rented apartment. That apartment was built by the wife, and the husband was not aware. When I heard that story, I was like, my God, that's the height of it. That's the height of the selfishness. What kind of a heart do you have? The woman built that house, gave out that house to an agent. Gave out that house to an agent, and the man rented that same apartment and was paying the rentage into the woman's account. And you were saying, well, when I heard that story, I was like, are you sure this can be? Are you sure? Is this possible at all? How will the husband pay money for the property that is his wife's own? How will you feel as a wife when it is time to pay for rent and the man is sweating to pay for that for the rent of that year or the rentage of that year, and you see the man sweating? Where did you keep your bowels of compassion? What kind of a heart do you have as a woman? And eventually the man found out. The man found, and I'm sure that is the end of that marriage. That's definitely will be the end of that marriage, because no man will tolerate that. That's the height of wickedness. That's the height of selfishness. So you have to be open with nothing to hide, because certainly there is nothing hidden under the sun that will not be revealed. And if they find out themselves, that will destroy your marriage. The final points for today, the final vices, the final silent killer, the final point for today is third-party interference. Third-party interference in your marriage. Some people's marriages are too exposed. Some people's marriages are too exposed to boundaries at all. I will make another video subsequently on boundaries in marriage. You need to place certain boundaries in your home. Everybody has something to say. Everybody is talking. Everybody has a shot in your home. Even people who have no idea about marriage. Even people who has no idea about marriage, they are also advising you. They are also contributing. You report your spouse to anybody. You report your spouse to anybody. Everybody who comes around you. My husband this, my husband that. My wife this, my wife that. So family and friends. All the family members, they all know about your husband's behavior or your husband's bad attitude. And of course, your family member will support you. We know that. Your family member, if you tell your mother, my husband slapped me, my husband beat me, your mother will support you. They will even tell you, pack out from that home. Leave that stupid man. Of course, they will advise you. Everybody will have advice. Everybody has something to say. Everybody has something to say. And when you do that, your spouses loses respect completely. When you keep doing that, they lose respect. Everybody in church know about your husband. Everybody in your department knows about your husband. They know about your husband. Everybody in your working place know about him. When your husband comes around, they start making faces like that yeye man, because you have taken him outside. You have taken that man outside. And I want to place a balance here. I'm not downplaying the place of godly counsel. No, I'm not. I'm not downplaying the place of godly counsel. Like in marriage, you need counsel. Proverbs 11:14. Proverbs 11:14. It says, where no counsel is, the people fall. That's serious. Where no counsel. What's counsel? Wise advice. Instruction. Wisdom. Where no counsel is, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. In the multitude of counselors, there is safety. But not everybody is a counselor. Not everybody is a counselor. Even not all pastors are counselors. Not all pastors are counselors. Pastors, if you meet your pastor and you complain, my husband this, my husband that, they can counsel you by the Spirit of God. Yeah, it's possible. They can guide you by the Spirit of God in them. But there are people who are trained as counselors. There are people who are trained as counselors. If you are having headache or you're having waist pain or you're not feeling too fine, you cannot go to a carpenter to ask for help. That's the wrong thing to do. If you are sick, you need to see a doctor. If you want to make furniture, then you can't see a doctor. You need to see a furniture person or a carpenter. You need to meet the right people if you have a problem. So if you also have problem in your home, there are people not to talk to. You need counselors, the right people who are trained. Counselors are trained. I was thinking I know something about marriage. Not until I registered. I did not want to just assume. I did not want to assume like as a pastor, I will counsel you. The Bible said, John this, Peter said, Matthew said, Zachariah said. No. Everything is not about the Bible. I had to train myself. I registered to become a certified marriage counselor. And my God, I learned a lot. I saw things from different lenses. So you need to meet the right people. The right people who are trained for the job of counseling. But I will always advise couples to sit down and resolve their differences. I will always advise people, couples, husband and wife, if you are having differences, if you're having misunderstanding, you are having conflicts, please sit down like two matured adults that you are and settle, reconcile, resolve those differences. It will really do you good. Because at the end of the day, nobody will, you will not have taken or washed or taken your dirty linens outside. At the end of the day, you still have your respect. Sit down. Learn to sit down to resolve conflicts. Learn to sit down to resolve your differences. Learn to sit down to settle your differences. Remove selfishness and pride. Remove selfishness and pride. Because at the base of every conflict is pride. I will not apologize. I no go agree. I no go agree. I no go agree. Pardon my use of word or the use of English. This one no go agree. That one no go agree. The marriage is gone. Like I said in my previous video, one person in resolving conflict, one person has to be a peacemaker and another a peace dweller. Learn to settle. Learn to bring in peace into your home. Put away pride. Put away pride. But if the issue wants to escalate further, if the issue causing the conflict, the main problem, if it wants to escalate beyond you, I say sit down to resolve your differences. But if that issue wants to escalate beyond both of you, then please don't die in silence. Speak up. Talk to someone. But make sure you are talking to someone who is experienced. If you know your parents will make matters worse, don't talk to them. Look for someone who is experienced in marriage and have positive examples to show. You don't meet a divorcee and say my marriage is not good. What are you expecting? Of course, yes. What are you expecting? If you go and meet someone who is divorced and you said a man is doing this to you, a man is disrespecting you, what do you want her to advise you? She that left her home. Of course, she will tell you, why not leave that man? Marriage is come. Marriage is men has come. Who marriage help? Must you die there? Come out. Of course, she wants to welcome you to her club of being single. So, you need wisdom to balance everything. You need wisdom. I want to appreciate you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed today's topic. I'll just go over what we said. Little foxes that spoils marriage. I talked about. What was the first point I talked about? I just take it through all the points. Unforgiveness, comparing your spouse, unforgiveness, comparing your spouse. I also talked about third party interference. I also talked about taking your spouse for granted. I talked about intolerance. I talked about comparison. And I also talked about selfishness. That was my first point. Selfishness, the points are just back to back. Selfishness, intolerance, comparing your spouse, unforgiveness, third party interference, taking your spouse for granted. All these points can really break the bond or destroy the beautiful bond you both share. I want you to go over this video again and listen. And please be open to correction. Open. Learn to be open to make amends. You as a wife, if your husband is correcting you, I don't like the way you dress, I don't like the way you cook, be open to correction. Be humble to learn. It takes humility to make your marriage work. You need humility to make your marriage work. I want you to share this video if you're watching from on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram. Do share it so you could bring healing into homes. You could bring healing. You could bring peace into homes. Finally, I want you to know that Jesus is the Prince of Peace. He is the Prince of Peace. You cannot enjoy peace and harmony outside Jesus. You need him in your life. You need him in your home. And if only you will let him in. Revelation 3:20 says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear and open the door. How do you open? By accepting him into your life. If you will do that right away, inviting Jesus into your home, I see you enjoying marital bliss. Just pray this little prayer after me and say, Lord Jesus, I want to appreciate you for the gift of life today. Lord Jesus, please come into my home. Please come into my life as a person. Forgive me all my sins, the sins of unforgiveness, the sins of selfishness, the sin of pride, the sin of intolerance. Please forgive me. And I ask for the grace, oh God, to make my marriage work. Forgive me. Wash me by the precious blood of Jesus. Come into my home. Give me the grace to make my marriage work. God bless you. God bless you if you make the prayer. If you just said this prayer, God bless you. When he comes in to settle your home. He comes in to settle your home. Without Jesus, you have bitterness, you have malice, you have the devil in your home. And the devil has three main agendas. That's to kill, to steal, and to destroy. I'm so happy if you made a prayer. Thank you so much for today, for joining us in today's program. I'll see you again next week with another very interesting and inspiring and impactful topic. Don't miss it for anything. You are blessed.